Welcome back to Muslim Minds. I am Hamza. This is Rohaib.
We are here today to ask you to help us reach 1,000 subscribers so we can produce more content for you guys.
Reinvest back into the channel and do more in real life content. So yeah, make sure to subscribe to this channel to help us grow.
We'll be reacting to this video, the story of Karbala, Day of Ashura explained.
Ashura for us is tomorrow, so we thought it would be a relevant video. So let's dive right in.
Just 48 years after the death of the Prophet Muhammad, his grandson Husayn was killed in the Battle of Karbala. Why did this battle happen, and why is it so important to Islamic history? After the fourth Caliph Ali was assassinated in 661, a power vacuum emerged, leading to Muawiyah assuming role as Caliph, despite opposition from part of the Ummah who wanted Hassan, son of Ali, who was the grandson of the Prophet, as the Caliph. To avoid further bloodshed after years of conflict, Hassan signed a peace treaty with Muawiyah.
It's a very sad period of Islamic history where there's disagreements among the Sahaba, fitna.
Yeah, and Ali was assassinated, so there's a lot of different viewpoints and stuff being said.
I think there's a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said that the fitna will begin with the breaking of a door or something. It's completely vague in my mind, but I think Umar said, well, you know what I'm talking about? There's a hadith where Umar is the door is broken and it'll be something.
I'll try to pull it up here if we can find it.
Yeah, I think it's something related to after Umar's death. That's when the door of fitna really broke open. And then you have all this infighting within the Muslim Ummah. And that was also the beginning of the...
It makes sense because every other caliph after Umar was assassinated.
Exactly.
Other two at least.
Yeah.
Astaghfirullah.
Yeah. This treaty stipulated that Muawiyah would not appoint a successor after him.
Yeah, this is something that I think even in the Sunni history, that Muawiyah agreed not to do nepotism, appoint a successor after him in his lineage. That would be up for the Ummah to kind of vote upon. Mm-hmm. But that was violated, I believe.
Year 670, Hassan was assassinated, leaving his brother Husayn to take on his duties. The treaty was breached when Muawiyah named his son Yazid his successor in 680, beginning the Umayyad dynasty. Yazid spread his power through corruption, bribery, and the use of violence. To legitimize his rule, Yazid demanded allegiance from Husayn. Husayn refused, as Yazid was openly corrupt and known to be brutal. Husayn was forced to flee Medina under threat of imprisonment and assassination. He had received thousands of letters from Kufa, Iraq, pledging support for an uprising against Yazid.
This is the craziest part about this whole story to me. Husayn, grandson of the Prophet ﷺ, there's a Muslim community, Kufa, who used to be led by Ali. They're guaranteeing him, come to us, we want you to be our leader, we want to appoint you as a Khalifa. He goes and all of them turn their back on Husayn. That's just the most heart-wrenching part of this entire history. He went, grandson of the Prophet, such a highly respected individual in the eyes of all the Muslims. The Prophet ﷺ loved him so much. We know that from several hadith. And he was betrayed by people who were supposed to be his right-hand people.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Of his refusal to pay allegiance, he said, I am ready to fight for the sole goal of seeking the reform of the Ummah of my grandfather, the Prophet of Allah. I want to enjoin good and forbid evil. Husayn first went to Mecca for Hajj, but then left to avoid violence and preserve the sanctity of the holy city. Husayn departed with his family and companions to Kufa.
When Husayn went to Mecca, a lot of the senior Sahaba, Abdullah ibn Umar, he was even there. Or one of the senior Sahaba of the next generation. They were there and they warned Husayn not to go to Kufa because they knew that they were kind of treacherous people. They were not very trustworthy. Ali had complained a lot about the people that he had power over. He would write letters to Medina about how difficult they were to kind of mandate and watch over. And so some of the senior Sahabas, they would tell Husayn, don't go. Look what happened to your father. Similarly will happen to you. You're gonna get betrayed back. They kind of foresaw it. And Husayn, he's like, no, look at all these letters I have. I have a lot of support. I'm gonna go. And then that's why he embarked anyway.
In response to the threat of rebellion from the Kufans, Yazid dispatched the governor to Kufa to quash dissent. This led to thousands of Kufans withdrawing their support under threat of violence. As they approached Kufa, Husayn's caravan was intercepted by a battalion of Yazid's army led by a man named Hur al-Riyahi. A greater army which numbered in the thousands, led by Umar bin Sa'ad, joined him and surrounded Husayn's camp in what is now known as Karbala in modern-day Iraq. The army cut off access to water for Husayn and his family, leaving the men, women and children to suffer from days of thirst.
And Husayn actually was open to kind of some kind of negotiation. Like he said, let me return to my people. I won't cause any problems. You can even exile me. I don't mind. You can throw me in exile, worship Allah until my last days. Something like to that effect. And there's one other option. I'm forgetting the Yazid appointed a politician in Kufa who was the one who bribed all his followers to betray him anyway. I'm forgetting his name. What was his name? The politician sent by Yazid. It's like something Aqil, I think. I don't know. I could be completely wrong. But he's the one who rejected all of Husayn's negotiations. And he said either you give Yazid bay'ah or we're killing you. It's only two options he gave him.
In Iraq's blistering desert heat, the army demanded allegiance from Husayn, threatening him with death. Despite all the odds, Husayn refused to back down. On the night before the battle, Husayn told his companions that they were free to leave, but they pledged to stand beside him in the face of certain defeat. The following morning, on the 10th of Muharram, known as the day of Ashura, Husayn delivered a powerful speech, reminding the opposition that he was still the grandson of the Prophet and that he still wished to leave. Moved by Husayn's speech, Hur abandoned ibn Sa'ad's army and joined Husayn's. The battle commenced, with Husayn's 70-odd companions facing off against an army of what many historians number to be 30,000. The companions of...
Exaggerated, 30,000 is a lot. It's probably like a couple
7,000 versus 30,000?
No, 70 people.
Oh, 70 versus 30,000?
That's kind of wild. And because in these old historical battles, you do have people kind of exaggerating the figures.
Yeah.
It was definitely, probably 70 to several thousand for sure.
Yeah, probably outnumbered by a lot. But it's cool how the other guy switched sides after his speech.
I heard more people kind of actually went over.
Yeah, maybe more than one.
Yeah.
Because it's obvious that what they were doing is bad.
Yeah, but I think not one Kufan remained with Husayn. I think that all his supporters were family or relatives.
Husayn fought group by group and were martyred.
No, okay, I got it wrong. The shrewd politician isn't Aqil. That's Muslim ibn Aqil. He is a relative of Husayn. He sent Muslim ibn Aqil to Kufa first to confirm, hey, I'm kind of to announce that Husayn is coming, to make preparations, to see who's all in support. Muslim ibn Aqil sent Husayn the letters saying, come. But then, as Husayn is on the way, that's when the treachery began. That's when that politician came. I forgot his name. But then Muslim ibn Aqil tried to warn Husayn. He sent one messenger to him, don't come anymore. And Husayn got that message, but he decided to come anyway. He thought maybe, there's still some hope. And then they killed Muslim ibn Aqil, actually. The Kufans. They betrayed him, turned him in, and he was murdered.
Wow.
On the battlefield. Eventually, Husayn was left with a handful of remaining family members. They too were killed. Husayn, now with no one beside him, pleaded with the enemy forces for water for his 6-month-old baby. The enemy responded by firing a fatal arrow at the infant.
This is a weak historical account.
Oh, so it's not verified?
Yeah, his baby was shot out of his arms. I think that's just from a Da'if kind of tradition, Shia tradition. No doubt, the whole event is insanely tragic.
Whatever happened, it would be violent and disgusting.
Yeah, but people probably just added some kind of exaggeratory elements to the story.
Killing Husayn's child in his arms. Husayn buried the child and bid farewell to the women and children of his camp. He fiercely charged into the battlefield, where, after fighting valiantly, eventually fell from his horse and was surrounded by the enemy soldiers. The grandson of the Prophet was brutally attacked from all sides and beheaded.
I think the main guy who went and delivered the killing blow, his name was Joshim or something. But it's interesting because descriptions of the battle are that people were avoiding Husayn. They didn't want to they would come near him, but they would be too hesitant to attack him because they know the maqam Husayn. Which is crazy. Leave. Like, if
Yeah.
you're afraid to attack him, maybe you should not be there.
I mean, yeah, it's totally wrong.
Yeah.
The enemy forces attacked and plundered the possession of the dead bodies, as well as the camp of Husayn's family. The tents were set ablaze with the women inside, which included granddaughters of the Holy Prophet. The family were taken captive by Yazid's army, later to be paraded.
That I'm not too sure about. I heard that the women's tent was left untouched, and that's why Zayn Abidin lived. Because he was in the women's tent, he was sick.
I'm not sure. I guess you know more about this.
Historian.
Damascus in Syria. The story of Karbala shook the Muslim Ummah as news spread, launching several uprisings across the Muslim empire. Many argue that the Battle of Karbala forever changed the course of Islamic history. The day of Ashura is mourned globally by millions of Muslims, both Sunni and Shia, to honor the heroic stand of the Prophet's grandson, Husayn.
It definitely did change the course of Islamic history, because at this point was the birth of theological Shiaism. Because before it was all political, but then you have people starting to visit, do ziyarah to Husayn's grave, kind of making these supplications. Like, it all kind of began from this tragic point.
Yeah. And just a clarification on the last point he said. Originally, like, for Muslims, the day of Ashura is not just a day where we're sad, and it's not about Husayn's death, even though that did happen. It's actually from, if you look at the hadith, it's when Musa alayhi salam escaped from Pharaoh, and the Jews celebrated it, so then Muslims also celebrated, and we fast on the day of Ashura, and it's an expiation for your last year's sins. Yeah. So the day of Ashura itself, Islamically, is that for that reason, but this happened after, many years after the Prophet ﷺ passed away.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's a very heart-wrenching and sad story. Like, the trials that Muslims themselves went through just for political power is just dumb.
Yeah. Can you imagine, you're the grandson of the Prophet, you're surrounded by thousands of people, you were betrayed.
Yeah, and he was trying to just leave.
I know,
they wouldn't even let him leave. Like, what's the point?
It's
the political power, which is dumb. But yeah, guys, just a relevant video given it's a day of Ashura. Basically now, it's after Maghrib.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow, man. On this day that many years ago, that's wow.
Crazy, yeah. But yeah, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave any comments on what you learned or anything we said. We always check and try to respond to every comment. And assalamu alaikum.